The dusty attic had always been a place of memories, but today it felt different. Amelia, a young woman on the verge of adulthood, found herself alone in this cramped space. Searching through old trunks and boxes, the scent of mothballs mixed with a musty perfume of forgotten years. She had been tasked with sorting through her late grandmother's belongings after her passing, a task that seemed trivial until her hands brushed against a small, tarnished locket hidden at the bottom of a wooden chest. Amelia held the locket in her hands, its delicate gold chains now worn with age, its intricate design faded but still beautiful. As she opened it, her breath caught in her throat. Inside was a black and white photo of a woman she did not recognize, though the features were strikingly similar to her grandmother's. The inscription on the back read, "Evelyn, my mother." Amelia stared, confused. Evelyn? She had never heard of this name before. Her grandmother, Eleanor, had always spoken of her aunt, but never a mother. She felt a sharp pang of unease in her chest. What was going on? Why had her grandmother kept this hidden? Amelia's mind raced with questions, but her hands trembled as she held the locket. She had to know more. In her grandmother's house, there were old letters and photo albums tucked away in forgotten drawers, but the one thing Amelia never expected to find was this, a photo that contradicted everything her family had ever told her. She hurried downstairs and confronted her mother, Eloise, who was going through a pile of papers in the kitchen. "Mom, look at this." Amelia placed the locket on the table. Eloise's face immediately paled. "Where did you find this?" she asked. Her voice tight with unease. "I found it in Grandma's attic," Amelia replied. Her voice trembling. "Who is Evelyn?" Eloise stared at the locket, her eyes clouding with something Amelia couldn't quite read. "Evelyn was your grandmother's secret," she said, the words slow, almost reluctant. "She wasn't her aunt, she was her mother. She died when your grandmother was young." The revelation shattered Amelia's understanding of her family's past. Her grandmother had never spoken of this, and now, all at once, the foundation of their family's history seemed to be crumbling. That evening, Amelia sat with her mother, who was now opening old family albums as the pages turned. Eloise began to speak of a time long ago, one that seemed too far in the past to matter. But Amelia listened carefully, piecing together fragments of a story she had never been told. It was during the war. Eloise began, "Your great-grandmother, Margaret, was a strict woman. She didn't like people questioning her, but Evelyn, your grandmother's mother, was different. She was free-spirited, always questioning, always fighting for more." Amelia's heart raced as she leaned in closer. What happened to her? Eloise sighed deeply. Margaret had Evelyn locked away. She wanted to protect the family's reputation. She didn't want anyone to know about her rebellious nature or her mistakes. Evelyn had fallen in love with a man her mother didn't approve of, and when she became pregnant, your great-grandmother made sure no one knew. She told everyone Evelyn had died in an accident, but the truth was far different. Amelia's mind reeled, and she felt as if the world had been turned upside down. Her grandmother had been hiding the truth for years, protecting herself from a past she was ashamed of. But why had she never told anyone? Why had this family secret been buried for so long? As Amelia continued to piece together the puzzle, the weight of the locket seemed to grow heavier in her hands. She couldn't shake the feeling that this discovery was only the beginning. She had heard whispers over the years about a potential inheritance, something tied to the family's history, but never fully understood its significance. After days of questioning her mother and searching through family records, Amelia uncovered a letter hidden in an old drawer. The letter was addressed to her grandmother from a lawyer. Dated just a month before her death, the contents of the letter were startling, as per the will. "It is necessary to address the rightful heir to your mother's estate." Amelia's pulse quickened. Could it be that her grandmother, the woman who had never spoken of her real mother, was the rightful heir to something far more valuable than she had ever imagined, or was this a ruse? What if there was more to the story than she had been told? Amelia's curiosity consumed her. She knew she couldn't keep this secret to herself. She had to find the truth, no matter the cost. That night, she made a plan to visit the lawyer mentioned in the letter. The old man's office, tucked away in a dusty corner of the city, seemed like a relic from another time. The air smelled of aged leather and cigarette smoke as she entered. The lawyer, a tall man with graying hair and sharp eyes, greeted her with little surprise. He had been expecting her, though Amelia had no idea how he knew. He had a stack of papers waiting for her. Your grandmother's mother was indeed Evelyn. She was the true heir to the estate. But there were complications. Amelia leaned forward. Eager to hear more, Evelyn left behind a fortune, the lawyer continued. But it was tied to her true identity. Your grandmother, in an attempt to avoid the shame, altered the records, and her inheritance was redirected. Now, because of your discovery, the inheritance will be reopened. But not without consequences. The lawyer's words hung in the air like a heavy fog. Amelia felt a mix of excitement and dread. What was she about to uncover? Amelia's search for the truth continued, each discovery pulling her deeper into the tangled web of her family's past. She revisited her grandmother's house and began to search with a new perspective. Behind a loose panel in the attic, she found a dusty trunk. Inside were more letters, photos, and records that painted an even darker picture. Her grandmother's refusal to acknowledge her mother was just the tip of the iceberg. As Amelia read through the letters, she discovered that Evelyn had been more than just a victim of circumstance. She had been a woman who had defied everything, even her family, to pursue a life of freedom. But the more Amelia learned, the more questions arose. Why had her grandmother chosen to live a life of deception? Why had she allowed her family to suffer the consequences of these lies? Amelia knew it was time for a confrontation. She invited her family to a meeting at her home, the weight of the locket still pressing on her heart. Eloise, her mother, her aunt, and her cousins gathered in the living room, their faces drawn and tense. No one knew what to expect, but Amelia was determined to force the truth into the open. She placed the locket on the table, its tarnished surface reflecting the tension in the room. "This," she began, her voice steady but trembling, "is the key to everything. Grandma never told us the truth. Evelyn wasn't her aunt. She was her mother." The silence that followed was deafening. Her family exchanged wary glances, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others too stunned to speak. "I need to know everything," Amelia continued. Why did she hide it? And why did it matter? Her mother, Eloise, finally spoke. "It mattered because it would have destroyed everything we built, the inheritance. The family name, it would have all been lost." Amelia's heart broke. "But why keep it a secret for so long?" Eloise looked down, her voice barely above a whisper. "Because we didn't want to face the truth." The confrontation had left Amelia shaken but resolute. As the days passed, she spent more time with the lawyer, revisiting the details of Evelyn's estate. What she discovered was shocking. The inheritance that had been withheld for decades was worth far more than anyone had imagined, but it came with strings attached. The estate had been designed to be shared between descendants of Evelyn, but the lack of clarity about who the true heir was had led to years of legal battles and claims. With Amelia's discovery, the estate was now at risk of being claimed by multiple parties, all of whom had their own hidden agendas. Amelia sat alone in her grandmother's house, the locket in her hand, contemplating her next move. She had the power to change everything to claim what was rightfully hers, but at what cost? Could she betray her family's past? knowing that doing so would expose even more lies and destroy the fragile unity they had left. The weight of the decision hung heavily on her shoulders. As she thought about her grandmother's life, she realized that the truth could no longer remain buried. She couldn't let the cycle of lies continue. With newfound determination, she made a decision that would forever alter the course of her family's future. Amelia stood before her family, the locket now resting securely in her palm. "I know this won't be easy," she began, "but I believe we owe it to Evelyn, to our past, and to ourselves to finally make things right." Her family listened, their faces softening as they understood the depth of her resolve. The years of deception had hurt them all, but now, at last, they could move forward with clarity. The inheritance was finally settled, the truth exposed, and the family, while scarred, was united in a new beginning. Amelia had uncovered the secrets that had haunted them for generations. But she had also found the courage to forgive, and so, with the locket now restored to its rightful place, the family began to heal. The legacy of Evelyn, once shrouded in shame, was now part of their story, a story they could finally tell with pride.